Our text today is Psalm 131. Charles Spurgeon said of it that it's one of the shortest psalms to read, but one of the longest to learn. Psalm 131 is simply spectacular, and I can tell you that you will do well to apply it to your life. It was written by no one other than King David himself, and I go straight to its premise so that we don't waste any time. King David is saying in Psalm 131 that after a baby has been weaned, it no longer cries or frets for what it initially found indispensable, mother's milk, and the baby and child is at peace and sleeps. And what King David is saying is, you will do well if your soul learns the comparable spiritual lesson. To move beyond what you believe to be indispensable in your life into the joyous space of contentment. You see, we are prone to being discontented and fretful because we're not getting what we think is indispensable in our lives. In other words, essential to our joy, essential to our happiness. Put it this way, we have made up our minds and our hearts that these things are non-negotiables to our happiness, and until we receive them or get them, well, until that happens, we are not content. And so let me give you a few examples of these non-negotiables that we might have in place. For example, my mind may be occupied with the lack of love of my parents for me, and I may even be in the place that I'm of the opinion that they love another sibling more than me. And so I seek after that love from my parents, which never comes, but which I believe to be indispensable to my wholeness and joy. And so my life is really on hold. Maybe I've decided that a promotion at work is indispensable to my joy, and it's like I'm holding my breath, but on a level I'm being suffocated because it just is not happening. Maybe someone owes me money and I am unhappy about that and I'm preoccupied with it. Maybe someone has hurt me and the apology is indispensable to my contentment. Maybe I want my relationship with my child, which is broken, to be restored. There are many examples of things that you and I may consider indispensable to our contentment. Now, maybe at this point, you may reflect on whatever there may be in your mind that is in the way of reaching a place of peace. It's a good thing to reflect on and to consider. And one of the tests that I can give you is, if it is something of note, your mind will most probably be preoccupied with it. So you can turn it around and ask yourself, what is my mind preoccupied with? But whatever it may be, what you and I have to learn is to wean ourselves off the things we think indispensable for our lives. And this is the key, but it's not easy. It's not easy. Thankfully, King David gives us 3 guidelines, and I discuss each guideline briefly, and then I close. The first guideline is to choose humility, and I say choose because it's your choice. The first guideline is to choose humility. King David says, O Lord, my heart is not lifted up, my eyes are not raised too high. And so what you must do is to check your heart for pride and for anger and for unforgiveness and judgment of others and self-pity, because these are signs of eyes lifted up at God, as signs of pride. Get rid of pride and anger and unforgiveness and judgment and self-pity, and do so by choice. Show them the door. Make decisions that make it happen. Do not make yourself the focus of your thoughts. That's one of the problems we have. We become preoccupied with ourselves. Find honor in being the servant of others. The Bible continually asks you to do that, to serve and to love others. Rick Warren said, true humility is not thinking less of yourself, it is thinking of yourself less. Harry S. Truman said, it's amazing what you can accomplish if you do not care who gets the credit. May our lives reflect servanthood and a focus on others. And so, in the first guideline, choose humility, make it happen. The second guideline is to choose modesty. King David says, I do not occupy myself with things too great and too marvelous for me. In other words, know your limitations, accept your limitations. I guess none of us like everything about ourselves. We have things in our makeup that we wish, I think, would not be there. But maybe Winnie the Pooh can help. Winnie the Pooh said, it's not much of a tail, but I'm sort of attached to it. Stop trying to be someone you are not. Accept yourself, live a simple life, enjoy your family, work hard, do good without expecting a reward, and do it as quietly as possible so that as few people as possible will see it. Expect nothing from others. Choose modesty and live it. That is the second guideline. Choose modesty. The third and the last guideline is choose hope. King David says, O Israel, hope in the Lord from this time forth and forevermore. In other words, trust in God for your fulfillment. Trust in God to replace what you may have given up, maybe with something better even. Trust God to go beyond your limitations, to achieve what you cannot achieve. Give up on your fear and your frets. Give up on negative thoughts. Give up on criticism and on negative words. Choose hope. In other words, choose God, which is then the third guideline. And so to sum it up, we choose first of all humility, then we choose modesty, and then we choose hope. I close. The New Testament confirms what we read in Psalm 131. The confirmation is found in Philippians chapter 4, verses 11 to 13. The Apostle Paul says this, and it's paraphrased. Paul says, actually, I don't have a sense of needing anything personally. I've learned by now to be quite content, whatever my circumstances. I'm just as happy with little as with much as with little. I've found the recipe for being happy, whether full or hungry, hands full or hands empty. Whatever I have, wherever I am, I can make it through anything in the one who makes me who I am. And of course, we know that's Jesus Christ. And so if you listen to that carefully, you would have noticed that Paul learned this. In other words, to reach the place of contentment is something to be learned. It is a pathway. And we learn from Psalm 131, it's a pathway with three main choices that only we personally can make. We choose humility, we choose modesty, and we choose hope. These choices are the stepping stones to a calm and quieted soul, to a soul within that is like a weaned child resting against its mother, contented and happy and calm. May God bless you as you seek to find the contentment that can only come from His guidance and the inspiration of His Holy Spirit.